Friends. Today we have with us Governor Reserve Bank of India, Shri Shaktikanta Das, Deputy Governors Dr. M.D. Patra, Shri M. Rajeshwar Rao, Shri T. Ravi Shankar, and Shri Swaminathan J. We also have with us Executive Directors Dr. O.P. Mal and Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, and other colleagues from Monetary Policy Department. To begin with, I would request Governor to make his opening remarks, and thereafter we'll move to Q&As. Sir, please.
Uh, Good morning and welcome to all of you. Nice to see you after a gap of 2 months. Uh, I'm not going to say anything new, but basically, what I have tried to do is I have tried to capture the highlights of this monetary policy, the statement which I made. So, I have culled out certain relevant portions just to put things in perspective for better clarity for you as well as for the wider audience which may be watching this program. I have about 10 points to make, and they are very short points. And it goes like this. First, growth inflation balance is evolving favorably as per our projections. Two, headline CPI inflation is moderating, but the last mile of disinflation is sticky. Our target is 4% on a durable basis, and we will work towards that. Three, our monetary policy is primarily guided by domestic macroeconomic conditions and the outlook. Four, GDP growth outlook is bright. The momentum of economic activity is well sustained. GDP growth projection of 7.2% for 24-25 when it materializes will be the fourth consecutive year of growth at 7% of growth at or above 7%. So, I mean, if you see the last 3 years and the current year, either the growth would be at, when it materializes, the growth would be at 7% or more than 7%. In fact, the average growth in the last 3 years, ending 23-24, the average growth in the last 3 years exceeds 8%. If you take the average of growth in the previous 3 years, it exceeds 8%. 5. Liquidity management will continue to be nimble and flexible. 6. The financial sector continues to be stable and resilient. 7. Foreign exchange reserves have reached a historical high of US dollar 651.5 billion at the end of May this year. 8. The external sector is expected to remain stable. 9. The Reserve Bank stands committed to maintain stability and orderliness in all segments of the financial markets and institutions regulated by it. 10. The agenda for the run-up to RBI at 100 has been given out as part of the monetary policy statement. It's given out in the annex to the monetary policy statement. This is a dynamic document and will be updated as per requirement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before we start, I'll request the media friends present here to wait for their turn before asking questions. Also, please restrict to one question per person. If time permits, we can go for another. So I'll call out the names now, starting with Mr. Govardhan Rangan from Economic Times. Sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Governor. So one of the things that one of the things that you have been reiterating is that you don't follow the Fed, and the domestic policy decisions will be based on the domestic considerations.
Yes.
That is also being interpreted as a kind of a dovish sign, in the sense that even if the Fed doesn't ease, okay, you would really go ahead and ease when the conditions permit. Is that the right interpretation?
The converse can also be true. In other words, even if the US eases, we may not. So therefore, I would suggest that there is what I have done is that I have just explained our overall approach, and I have done it in the past. I decided to reiterate it again, for better clarity.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I'll request Ms. Lata Venkatesh from CNBC.
Thank you very much. Uh, Governor, sir, in your para 22, where you speak about unsecured retail loans and, coming down, just I'm reading, recent data suggests that there is some moderation in these advances. We are closely monitoring incoming data and to ascertain if further measures are necessary. Can you clarify if further measures are necessary? That's like vital to both consumers as well as to banks. And of course, if you don't mind, sir, you said you will give us the neutral rate after the GDP comes, the newest calculation.
DG Swaminathan can take that question.
Sir, I think I would like to only reiterate what is stated there. We are closely watching the incoming data, and any measures, if necessary, will be basis the reading of the data. I don't think that you should read more than that in that at this point in time. Thank you.
The message is to convey that RBI is watchful of every aspect of the overall financial sector, especially in the banking sector. We are agile, we are watchful, as and when, if and when, let me say, if and when some further measures are taken, are required, they will be taken. Nothing more than that at this stage. Yeah, next.
Thank you, sir.
We'll come back. Neutral rate will come back subsequently. Yeah. Or you can apply now itself.
It will be published in the bulletin for everyone.
Thank you, sirs. Mr. Mayur Shetty from Times of India.
Thank you, sir. Governor, the growth last year was 8%, which is higher than most forecasts. And also credit growth has been outpacing the deposit growth. Are you seeing any signs of overheating in this context? And if not, are you willing to say that rate hikes are off the table?
I think DG Michael Patra can take that.
No, we are not seeing signs of overheating because remember that the level of output had fallen very low during the pandemic, and even these high rates of growth are enabling it to catch up with that level. So no signs of overheating. And about taking it off the table, nothing is off the table.
Thank you, sir. I'll ask Mr. Manojit Saha from Business Standard to ask his question. Mike, please. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. What is the reason you think growth in FY25 will be 100 basis points lower than FY24? What are the worries? And have you reassessed the real growth potential growth rate and the neutral rate, which I earlier asked?
Yeah, it's a year-on-year growth rate. So it will be influenced by the high base of 23-24. But the momentum is high.
I've said it in my statement, and I think I took a pause while reading out the statement. I said that, and I said it also in this, if you recollect, I said it very clear that, I have said that the growth outlook is bright, and I said that the momentum of economic activity is well sustained. So therefore, we have slightly increased the growth projection from 7 to 7.2%. And the base effect he has explained.
Thank you.
Thank you, sirs. Next, we have Mr. Anup Roy from Bloomberg.
Thank you, sir. Sir, how does your monetary policy get impacted by the surprising election outcome? And does it impact, do you expect a fiscal consolidation to get impacted because of more populist policies?
The question actually is in the realm of speculation. And the question basically pertains to the government. It's in the remit of the government. And I'm in no position to comment on fiscal consolidation at the moment.
Thank you, sir. Now we have Mr. Ankur Mishra from ET Now.
Good afternoon, Governor. We have seen a pattern from Reserve Bank of India. First, there is a warning and then there is an action. Today also, you have given several warnings, including high interest rates and CD ratio in particular, because this warning had also already been given earlier in earlier meetings. So will there be action now followed by this warning?
See, essentially, it is our intention to flag any possible buildup of risks, potential areas of concern is what we keep looking for. And then it's our intention to communicate them to the regulated entities. And as mentioned in the governor's speech, we have requested the boards to relook and re-strategize their business plans, taking into account the widening gap between the growth in deposits and growth in their loan book. So it is left to the individual entities basis their business plans, and then if it is required, they will have to modify their business plans to suit a long-term sustainability. That is what that we would look for, because these kind of risks can ultimately may result in certain potential risks to those injuries. So at this point in time, it is a concern that is being flagged. We have left it to the wisdom of the respective boards to re-strategize if necessary, and it is not our intention to interfere into or get into any micromanagement of as to how the business is done. It will be left to the boards to plan and do that. We'll only look at any macro level impact of any of the building up of risks. That's what we will watch. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll request now Ms. Swati Bhatt from Reuters.
Thank you, sir. Governor, in the recent annual report that was released, in the agenda for the next financial year, you mentioned that you plan to expand your intervention toolkit. I just wanted to understand, what are you referring to and what exactly do you mean by expanding the toolkit? You have been intervening in almost every possible market spot, NDFs included. So what are other tools that you're looking at? Thank you.
I think Michael perhaps.
No, we would go on refining our toolkit and intervening as and when needed.
Look, please wait. If there is a new instrument deployed, you'll have to wait for that. If you look back in the last few years, currency swap was another approach which we adopted for liquidity purposes. Our intervention in the NDF market has also undergone a change. We are now very clear and explicit that RBI is there in the forward market, and we are there. So therefore, these are the developments which are taking place, and it's a constant process. As and when any new toolkit is deployed, you will know about it. Let me not, let's not jump the queue. Let's wait.
Thank you, sirs. Now I'll request Ms. Pratigya Vajpayee from Informist.
Good afternoon, Governor. Drawing from the last policy's analogy of elephant in the woods. So has the elephant now settled down in the woods? Where are we on the disinflationary process as per your assessment?
You see, the elephant, as usual, is walking very slowly. And inflation, 4.9, then 4.8. Before that, it was around 5. So the elephant is walking very slowly. So we are watchful, and we would like the elephant to enter the forest and be there, in the sense we would like inflation to reach, to align itself with the target and be there on a durable basis. So, and I have said that the last mile, I think I have just now also repeated that the last mile of our journey towards 4% is pretty sticky, and that is the case world over. So the analogy about elephant, yes, the elephant is walking slowly, and we have to be very watchful.
Thank you, sir. अब मैं जी बिजनेस से श्री ब्रिजेश कुमार जी को आमंत्रित करूंगा.
सर, आपने कहा कि डिसइन्फ्लेशनरी ट्रेंड दिख रहा है, तो क्या ये मानना होगा कि जब तक 4% पे नहीं आ जाएगा तब तक आप रेट कट के बारे में नहीं सोचेंगे? और दूसरा, जब आप कहते हैं कि ड्यूरेबल बेसिस, तो उसका क्या मतलब निकलता है?
रेट कट के बारे में तो मैंने कुछ इंडिकेशन नहीं दिया. द ओनली इंडिकेशन हमने दिया है वो है कि भाई 4% के पास 4% में हम पहुंच जाए और वहां रुके. वो मतलब ये नहीं कि जैसे मैंने एक्सप्लेन किया कि इस साल सेकेंड क्वार्टर में, आप अगर हमारा प्रोजेक्शंस देखेंगे, इस साल का सेकेंड क्वार्टर में इन्फ्लेशन नंबर्स जो है वो 3.8% पहुंचने का चांसेस है, एंड हमारा जो एनालिसिस है वो वही दिखा रहा है। लेकिन इसका ये मतलब नहीं कि 3% हम पहुंच गए और हमारा काम खत्म हो गया और रेट हम काट दिए, क्योंकि हमको पता है कि उसके अगले क्वार्टर में वो इन्फ्लेशन फिर बढ़ रहा है, 4.6 या 4.7 ऐसा कुछ हमने नंबर दिया है, और वो 5% से क्वाइट क्लोज टू 5% ऑल्सो। सो देयरफॉर हमको वॉचफुल रहना चाहिए, और 4% के इट हैज टू अलाइन विद द टारगेट। 4% में पहुंचने के बाद वहां पे रुकना चाहिए। तो हमको जब कॉन्फिडेंस आएगा कि हाँ ये 4% में अभी रहेगा और ऊपर नहीं जाएगा, तब हम रेट कट के बारे में या फर्दर मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी एक्शन क्या होगा, रेट कट के टर्म में यूज नहीं करना चाहूंगा, फर्दर मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी क्या होगा उसके बारे में सोचेंगे।
थैंक यू, धन्यवाद सर। अब मैं श्री अनुराग शाह ईटी नॉर्थ स्वदेश से आग्रह करूंगा कि वे अपना प्रश्न पूछें।
थैंक यू सर, आपने सवाल पूछने का मौका दिया। सर, आज की पॉलिसी में जो आपने स्मॉल वैल्यू लोन पे ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट रेट की बात कही, एक तरह से सूदखोरी की बात की गई है, तो सर उसका जो शब्द आपने इस्तेमाल किया उसका हिंदी में तो मतलब सूदखोरी है।
अच्छा, राइट,
हाँ, तो सर तो इसको लेकर आरबीआई कितना चिंतित है, और क्या ये कस्टमर रिलीफ के लिए ही आप ये बात कर रहे हैं? और सर जब कस्टमर रिलीफ की बात आ रही है तो हमने देखा कि हाल के दिनों में जो इतने सारे आउटेज हुए, डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन वगैरह नहीं हो पाए, बैंकों में भी जाके आप ट्रांजैक्शन नहीं कर पा रहे। अभी बीएससी के द्वारा एक प्रेस रिलीज जारी की गई है कि 4 तारीख को जो लोग यूपीआई से पेमेंट ही नहीं हुआ, इस वजह से वो अपना निवेश नहीं कर पाए, क्योंकि पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर पूरी तरह से कहीं गड़बड़ी हो गई। तो इस पे क्या सुपरविजन भी और आप मजबूत करने के बारे में सोच रहे हैं?
आई थिंक जो डिजिटल पार्ट ऑफ द ट्रांजैक्शंस, डीजी रविशंकर यू कैन एक्सप्लेन। आउटेज जो बैंक के बारे में है, दैट डीजी स्वामीनाथन कैन एक्सप्लेन। एंड पहला पार्ट क्या था आपका क्वेश्चन का?
सर
यूजर्स, ओके, वो पार्ट मैं एड्रेस करूंगा। देखिए, ऐसा है कि हमारा एक फेयर प्रैक्टिसेस कोड है, और बैंक इंटरेस्ट रेट्स, एनबीएफसी इंटरेस्ट रेट्स, एमएफआई इंटरेस्ट रेट्स वो पूरी तरह डीरेगुलेटेड है। तो आरबीआई का ये गाइडलाइन है कि जो इंटरेस्ट रेट वो चार्ज करेंगे वो फेयर होना चाहिए, फेयर एंड ट्रांसपेरेंट होनी चाहिए। हमने देखा है, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूं कि सिस्टम वाइड कुछ हो रहा है, कुछ आउटलायर्स है जहां पे हमने देखा है, और जहां पे हमने आउटलायर्स देखा है उनके साथ डायरेक्टली हमारा सुपरविजन डिपार्टमेंट उनके साथ बातचीत कर रहे हैं, उनके साथ इंटरेक्शन जारी है, उनको पूछ रहे हैं हम कि किस बेसिस पर आप ये इंटरेस्ट रेट चार्ज कर रहे हैं, वो जारी है, उनको सेंसिटाइज किया जा रहा है कि ताकि उनका इंटरेस्ट रेट फेयर हो। दूसरी चीज ये है कि कुछ इंटरेस्ट रेट्स और चार्जेस जो होता है कि वो एनुअलाइज नहीं होता है, जिसको कॉमन लैंग्वेज में कहते हैं कि हिडन चार्जेस। तो इसीलिए हमने जो केएफएस है, की फैक्ट स्टेटमेंट, वो मैंडेट किया हुआ है, जिसमें कि एनुअलाइज्ड रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, मतलब आप कितना फी दे रहे हैं, कितना अपफ्रंट फी दे रहे हैं, कितना प्रोसेसिंग फी वगैरह दे रहे हैं, उसका एनुअलाइज्ड इंटरेस्ट रेट क्या होगा, उनको केएफएस में, की फैक्ट स्टेटमेंट में डिस्प्ले लगेगा। तो यूजर्स जो हमने कहा है, कुछ केसेस है जिसमें कि ये हमें दिखाया गया है, हमको दिखा है, वी हैव नोटिस्ड इट, और उन एंटिटी के साथ हम एंगेज्ड है, उनको हम पूछ रहे हैं कि हमको लग रहा है कि ये यूजरियस है, आप जस्टिफाई करिए कैसे इतना आप इंटरेस्ट रेट चार्ज कर रहे हैं। सिस्टम वाइड थिंग्स आर ऑल राइट, बट कुछ आउटलायर्स है जिनके साथ हम डील कर रहे हैं। एंड आप आउटेज के बारे में?
The system outages are under close monitoring by us. We have a portal in which all the regulated entities are required to report their outages, both planned and unplanned. And at the system level, we are seeing a trend which is encouraging. However, if there are any outlier entities on a bilateral basis, we talk to them and we also issue them a corrective action plan for them to augment their infrastructure, catering to the or proportionate to the growth in business levels. So this is an item which is under our constant monitoring, and any downtime will be dealt with as laid down in our master directions on IT risk management.
तो भविष्य में सर
जहां पे एक मिनट जहां पे आउटेज होता है, हमारा सी साइट टीम है, जहाँ पे आउटेज होता है वो तुरंत उन पर्टिकुलर बैंक के साथ एंगेज करते हैं, वहाँ पे सुपरवाइज करते हैं, देखते हैं कि क्यों आउटेज हुआ, उसका कारण क्या है, सारे एस्पेक्ट हम स्टडी करके फिर बैंकों को सेंसिटाइज करते हैं। अगर कुछ डेफिशिएंसी दिखाई गई उनको सेंसिटाइज करते हैं। तो आरबीआई का जो सुपरविजन है इस बारे में बहुत अलर्ट है, बहुत बहुत केयरफुली उसको हम मॉनिटर करते हैं और क्विकली एक्शन लेते हैं। रवि, दैट यूपीआई समथिंग ही आस्क्ड।
यूपीआई डाउन टाइम के बारे में आप पूछ
हाँ
रहे
सर,
हैं।
बीएससी ने आज अभी रिलीज में बताया कि जो 4 तारीख को लोगों ने जो निवेश किया था उनको एनएवी नहीं मिल पाई क्योंकि यूपीआई पेमेंट्स नहीं हो पाए।
अब आज का जो रिलीज है उसके बारे में तो मेरे पास इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं है, तो उस पर मैं कुछ बोलना नहीं चाहूँगा, लेकिन ये जरूर बोलना चाहूँगा कि एफर्ट्स जारी है कि यूपीआई में डाउन टाइम कम किया जाए, और ये एफर्ट पिछले कुछ सालों से जारी है। आप अगर पिछले 1 साल में देखेंगे तो ये डाउन टाइम करीब 1% से नीचे ही है कंटिन्यूअसली। और दूसरा एफर्ट्स भी जारी है, जैसे यूपीआई लाइट वॉलेट जैसा यूज होता है, उसका पर्पस यही है कि बैंक का सिस्टम पे प्रेशर कम हो, इसीलिए बैंक का सिस्टम को यूपीआई चार्जेस ज़्यादा हिट ना करें। तो यूपीआई लाइट भी ग्रेजुअली ज़्यादा पॉपुलर हो रहा है। अभी करीब 10 मिलियन ट्रांजैक्शन पर मंथ है, उसको बढ़ना है, लेकिन वो जब ज़्यादा बढ़ेंगे बैंक का सिस्टम पे वो प्रेशर भी कम होने लगेगा। तो ये सब एफर्ट हमारा जारी है जिसके कारण ये डाउन टाइम कम हो सकता है, और भी कम हो सकता है 1% से।
थैंक यू।
तो यूपीआई का ट्रांजैक्शंस है पर डे अभी वो 40 करोड़ के ऊपर है। 45 करोड़ ने आपने गलती से शायद 10 मिलियन कह दिया।
यूपीआई लाइट का।
अच्छा, यूपीआई लाइट का। लेकिन मैं इस बारे में बिल्कुल एम्फेटिकली कहना चाहता हूं कि जब भी कोई आउटेज होता है, यूपीआई में कुछ आउटेज नहीं हुआ है, यूपीआई एंड से प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, एनपीसीआई एंड से, यूपीआई एंड से कहीं पे भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। प्रॉब्लम आती है बैंक एंड से, तो उसको भी नजर में रखना चाहिए, क्योंकि हमने सारे केसेस में एनपीसीआई में भी चेक करते हैं, कहीं एनपीसीआई एंड से कुछ आउटेज हो गया क्या। लेकिन एनपीसीआई एंड से, जो कि यूपीआई प्लेटफॉर्म चलाते हैं, उस एंड में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होता है, बैंक का लिंक में प्रॉब्लम होता है। उसके कई कारण है जिसको हम डील कर रहे हैं। और मैं ये अनुरोध करना चाहता हूँ कि ये 3-4 क्वेश्चन हो गया आपका, तो कृपया करके एक क्वेश्चन पूछिए ताकि सबको चांस मिले।
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sirs. May I now request Mr. K. Ramkumar from Hindu Business Line?
Good afternoon, sir. I just wanted to understand, you referred to banks require, they should re-strategize their business plan, given that the credit and deposit growths are, there is a gap between them. So do you have any particular number in mind in terms of CD ratio? What is the CD ratio now? And should they reach a particular level of CD ratio so that the system is comfortable, actually?
The answer is a resounding no. We don't have an ideal CD ratio that can be prescribed across the system, because it purely depends on the business model and the type of bank and their own risk appetite framework. So that is why it has been categorically made clear that these are business plans which will have to be made as well as recalibrated depending upon the emerging circumstances. The risks that can probably come is, in case if this gap widens further, there could be a liquidity risk, or there can be a rollover or repricing risk as far as their deposits are concerned. So that's the reason that we would like to flag it to their attention. But as I said earlier, it's not our intention to prescribe a particular ratio and guide them towards that. We would like them to re-strategize their business in case if the ratio at which they are pursuing business is not sustainable over a long term. So that's our intention. I hope it's clear.
Thank you, sir. Now it will be Mr. Ashish Agashe from PTI.
Thank you so much, sir. So this was as a follow-up to Anurag's question and your comment on that. So you mentioned that the problems many a time has been found at the bank's end, due to which outages or transactions don't go through. After the last policy meeting, we also saw an action against on business restrictions against a lender. Sir, what is your general view on tech spends by banks? Is there any prescription there? Because banks have been telling us that they are typically spending about 7 to 8% of the operating expenses. So, what is your view on this? Are they doing enough? And if they are, then why are we witnessing such instances?
See, banks should invest adequately. They are. I'm not saying banks are not. What is necessary is to see that the IT systems, in terms of capacity for processing data, keeps pace with the growth of business. And it is for the banks to assess what investment is required to ensure this. It's a micro aspect of their management. RBI does not prescribe how much they should invest. If there is a problem, we see whether the system has any deficiencies, and we advise the banks to take necessary corrective actions. Basically, the IT systems, the capacities, and all the overall infrastructure has to keep pace with the growth of business. And also the DRCs, that is the disaster recovery centers, that also needs to be always kept active.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Ms. Gopika Gopakumar from the Mint.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Governor. In your statement, you've mentioned that the rural recovery has been quite good. But from the recent election outcome, we've seen that there is disenchantment at the rural level. So are we missing something? Is the broad headline numbers not telling us something that the reality is throwing up?
You see, I reiterate what is there in the statement, that the rural demand is showing signs of recovery. And we have given out the data also in support of that in the footnotes. Beyond that, what you said is your analysis of the situation. I would not like to venture into that.
Thank you, sir. Next is Mr. Dinesh Unnikrishnan from Money Control.
Thank you. Governor, there have been a series of cases where you have acted against NBFCs, if you look at last 6 to 8 months. So in most cases, you have very clearly said that you have been engaging with the management and the promoters over a period of 1 to 2 years at least. But still, such cases are recurring. And you have cited material concerns in some of these cases. Recently also you acted. So it's a broader question. How worrying is this culture of lack of compliance in this non-banking space? I mean, is that something that the RBI has taken a view? Because you have been acting very aggressively over the last 1 year, if I may say. So is that something that worrying the central bank?
Overall, as I said, overall the banking sector, the NBFC sector, and the MFI sector, overall they all remain stable. Wherever we see outliers, we engage with them. And also, let me make it, let me just, for the sake of clarity, let me also mention that the supervisory restrictions, in how many cases we have put supervisory restrictions? In the NBFC universe, there are 9,500 NBFCs. And we have taken action, supervisory action, put restrictions only against 3 out of 9,500. And so therefore, in the banking space also similarly. So therefore, it's not as if, there's a large scale deficiency is there in the system. Wherever we see deficiency, we engage with the, with the regulated entity to see that necessary corrective measures are taken. Our first priority is bilateral engagement with the regulated entity. In fact, there are a few cases where we found that there were deficiencies. We engaged with them and we found that the necessary corrective measures were taken. So the numbers where we have taken supervisory action are very, very minuscule percentage of the total number of banks or the NBFCs, and that's it. So we should not, we should read it in that sense.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll have Mr. Vishwanath Nair from NDTV Profit.
Thank you, Punisa. Governor, eighth consecutive policy of this status quo, albeit with the voting pattern having changed a little bit. I wanted to ask you, what is the withdrawal of accommodation stance serving? I mean, you said anchoring of inflationary expectations, but concretely, what is it doing? Conversely, changing it, how would that affect your objectives?
It's also the eighth consecutive time when inflation has not aligned with the target. So the stance which indicates the future course of policy is focused on aligning inflation with the target.
Thank you, sir. We'll have Mr. Anand Adhikari from Business Today.
Good afternoon, sir. So one of the DGs recently said, this ARC route, is becoming a vehicle, for the re-entry of, tainted promoters. I just want to understand, how widespread is this, or are you still investigating some cases?
See, we would not like to comment on individual instances of what has been seen, but the basic legislative intent under the IBC was to keep out the promoters who were actually responsible for downfall of the entity in the concerned place. That principle needs to be respected by all regulated entities when they are doing their transactions. That was the intent, which needs to be emphasized.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll have Mr. Laltendu Mishra from The Hindu.
Good afternoon, Governor. What are your expectations from the new government, which will be taking over shortly? And did this is to achieve your growth targets as well as to keep inflation under control. And did the MPC discuss about the outcome of the recent election results? Thank you.
You see, what the MPC discussed comes out in the individual minutes of the MPC members, which will be uploaded 2 weeks from now. And as regards the new government's policy, etc., again, it's in the government's remit, and I'm in no position to reply on that.
नमस्कार सर, आज आपने डिजिटल पेमेंट इंटेलिजेंस प्लेटफॉर्म की बात की, तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा डिटेल से जानना चाहेंगे, क्योंकि ये लगभग हर एक के साथ जुड़ा हुआ मामला है।
डीजी रविशंकर इसको जरा रिप्लाई करते हैं।
डिजिटल पेमेंट इंटेलिजेंस प्लेटफॉर्म के ऑब्जेक्टिव यही है कि हम नया टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करके, जैसे आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, मशीन लर्निंग, इस टाइप के टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करके प्रोएक्टिवली क्या रिस्क हो सकता है फ्रॉड का कोई ट्रांजैक्शन में, वो पता करें, और जो अलर्ट है वो सब स्टेक होल्डर्स को भेजे, जो ट्रांजैक्शन करते हैं, बैंकों को, उनको भेजे, ताकि फ्रॉड का इंसिडेंस प्रोएक्टिवली कम किया जा सकता है। अब वो कैसे होगा, उसका कॉन्टोर्स क्या होंगे, कौन सा डेटा उसके लिए चाहिए, वो सब के लिए हम जो ग्रुप